I had already seen you before you even thought of pressing play. This moment is not an accident. It was written on heaven's calendar. You didn't stumble here by mistake. You were drawn with intention by a whisper so deep it sounded like your own thought. But it was me. I've been guiding you through the noise, the weariness, and the questions no one else could answer, just to bring you to this exact moment. You've been wondering if anything will ever change, if you missed your chance, the right time, the open door that seems to come so easily for others. But listen, you haven't missed a thing. Everything has been prepared for right now. Every wait, every silence, every not yet has been filled with purpose. So perfect, so precise that only heaven could explain it. This moment is not small. It is sacred. And what I'm revealing now is not just reassurance. It's transformation. The kind that cannot be undone. You see what felt like nothing moving on the surface was me rearranging everything beneath it. You were never forgotten. You were being fortified. The weight you carried wasn't proof of failure. It was evidence of your calling. And that calling has not expired. It's just beginning to rise. There's a reason you felt the pull. The heaviness, the pressure that made you want to disappear. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because what I'm placing into your hands is too valuable to be carried casually. That quiet ache you've carried for years. I've seen it. I've heard every whisper in the night. And now I'm responding. Not with a hint, but with a flood. You thought the good news would come with celebration from others, but I hid it for a time, even from you. Not because I didn't want you to have it, but because I didn't want it tainted by human opinion. What I'm doing now is bigger than applause. It's deeper than recognition. This is about alignment with what I always knew you could carry. The weight of glory that only comes after you've endured the wait. There were moments when you thought your tears were wasted. Nights when you questioned whether your prayers dissolved into nothing, but I was there, catching every one of them like sacred drops. You didn't lose time. You invested it, and what felt like stillness was actually sacred movement. I wasn't delaying your future. I was anchoring it in foundations too strong for failure. You've walked through valleys thinking you were walking alone, but I was there in the silence, speaking, in the pauses, holding space for you when no one else noticed. And now the shift you've sensed but couldn't explain. That sudden change in atmosphere, the emotional restlessness, the deep longing for something more. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual confirmation. The good news is not coming. It's already here. You don't need to chase it. You're stepping into what's arriving now carries the fragrance of fulfillment, not just promises. The kind of change that rewrites narratives. The kind of breakthrough that leaves no one guessing if it was coincidence or divine orchestration. I'm not showing up as a whisper this time. I'm moving as a roar that echoes through the very bones of your story. They thought you'd given up, but you were just growing in silence. They assumed your absence meant failure, but I was hiding you for protection. What they didn't see was the refining fire you were walking through, the kind that burns away the performance and leaves only purpose. And now that your heart is ready, I'm unveiling what I've kept sealed just for you. The good news is this. I didn't forget. I didn't overlook. I didn't change my mind. What I promised I'm fulfilling, not out of pity, not as a reward for perfection, but because you stayed when it would have been easier to walk away. You didn't need to be loud to be seen. You just needed to remain rooted when others uprooted themselves. And that obedience has opened the floodgates. You're not being skipped. You're being elevated. And it won't look like what you expected. Will be better. It won't need validation. It won't need a second opinion. It will arrive complete, undeniable, and full of peace. That's how you'll know it's from me. You won't need to hustle to make it fit. You'll step into it like you've always known it was yours, because it's what once resisted you will now welcome you. What once felt out of reach will now meet you where you are. The rooms you thought you weren't qualified to enter, you're being handed the keys. Not because you forced your way in, but because you waited while I wrote your name into the invitation. I'm not just opening doors. I'm opening eyes. The ones who couldn't see your worth will now watch as I place you in positions they never imagined you'd occupy. But this isn't about vindication. It's about purpose. And purpose always rises in Silence before it speaks in public. You thought this would be your season of survival, but I'm calling it your season of overflow. Not just enough, abundance. Not just healing, wholeness, not just closure, clarity. And it's not just falling around you. It's falling on you, through you, and because of you. We're always the vessel. And now, everything that felt like loss will bloom into something that not only fills you but feeds others through you. This isn't just recovery, it's resurrection. And what I breathe on, no man can bury. I didn't bring you here to tease your hope. I brought you here to fulfill it. And I've wrapped it in timing so exact. You'll look back and understand why it had to unfold the way it did. You didn't lose momentum. I was holding it for the right moment. And this, beloved, is that moment. So don't rush past this stillness. Let it settle. Let it stretch wide inside your spirit. The very fact that you're still here, still standing, still believing, still breathing is proof that your promise has not expired. It's only now beginning to bloom. And what blooms from this moment won't fade, because it's rooted in faith, watered by endurance, and released by the whisper of heaven. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are right on time. And the good news you've been waiting for, it's already unfolding. You didn't miss the sign. You didn't misunderstand the season. You were just being prepared to carry something too weighty for shallow ground. I hid the moment of breakthrough not because you weren't worthy of it, but because I was growing the roots that would hold it. And now, as heaven leans closer, I want you to understand. This is not a beginning built on your striving. It's a rising, born from your surrender. You looked around and saw others moving ahead. Their paths seemed clear while yours twisted through shadows and silence. You questioned your place in the story, your position in the promise. But what you didn't see is that I wasn't writing you. I was weaving you in more deeply. Was crafting something sacred, something slow, something unshakable. Because the good news I'm delivering isn't surface level relief. It's foundation level reformation. You asked if I heard you. Never stopped listening. Even when your voice was too tired to rise above a whisper, I recorded every word. Not just your bold declarations of faith, but the quiet cries between breaths. The silent sentences formed only in your soul. Caught those too. I stored them like seed. And now I'm calling the harvest. For you didn't recognize the holy weight you were carrying because it felt so much like emptiness. That's how glory disguises itself in the waiting, like hollow spaces that ache. But those hollows were being shaped for what only I could fill. And now I'm filling them. Not with temporary signs or half-formed promises, but with the fullness of what I've always intended for you. Others may have rushed toward their dreams, but I anchored yours. While they moved in noise, you grew in stillness. While they broadcasted their progress, I buried yours in sacred ground where no critic could uproot it. I didn't let it bloom early because what I'm doing in you isn't seasonal. It's eternal. It's the kind of good news that doesn't fade under pressure or vanish with time. Multiplies. At last, you're not just walking into a better situation. You're walking into the reason you couldn't give up. Every closed door, every denied request, every lonely turn, they weren't feeders. They were divine roots, because I saw the snares up ahead, the distractions wrapped in opportunity, the partnerships dressed like blessings. Saw what you couldn't see and I shielded. Even your heartbreak wasn't punishment. It was protection. I didn't allow the wrong things to stay because I knew what you'd carry later would need room to breathe. And now that room is ready. Now your spirit is cleared. Your heart is fertile. Your vision is sharpened. You thought you were running out of time, but you were just stepping into mine. The very weight you thought would break you has become the mantle that sets you apart. The pain that silenced your voice is now the oil on your words. The delay you resented is now the evidence of my precision. I was not slow. I was strategic. And now that strategy is turning into movement, not chaotic movement, purposeful momentum. You won't have to force the next season. It's already responding to your yes. Not the loud yes of performance, but the quiet yes of perseverance. You gave it when no one else saw, when the room was empty, when the applause stopped. said yes when all you had was faith. And I'm honoring that yes now. I didn't forget how hard it was. I didn't ignore the days you barely held on. I counted each one not to burden you but to balance the weight of what I'm about to release. Because now, right now, I'm giving back everything that felt lost. And not as a copy of what you thought you needed. No, I'm returning it. Multiplied, refined, tailor-made. You thought the opportunity had passed, but I hold the clock. You thought the promise had faded, but I hold the ink. You thought the good news had expired, but I've only now unsealed it. What's being unlocked was never dependent on who noticed you, who believed you, who stayed. It was always about who sent. I'm not elevating you for display. I'm revealing you for purpose. You don't need to announce this season. Well, announce itself. The favor on your life will speak in rooms where you never had to enter with credentials. I'm not opening doors so you can impress the world. I'm unlocking spaces so you can finally breathe in the fullness of what I've always known about you. You were never too late. You were never too far. You were never too broken. You were always being aligned. That's why it felt so unfamiliar. That's why the journey looked so different. You were never meant to follow someone else's blueprint. I designed yours from eternity. And now that design is rising to the surface. Everything that seemed like a delay was actually synchronization. Every tear that fell in confusion was watering soil you hadn't yet seen. And now the soil is cracking open. Now the roots are pushing up through places that once looked lifeless. Now the breath in your lungs isn't just survival. It's momentum. Because I'm not just giving you good news. I'm giving you movement. It will start subtly. Conversation, a confirmation, a shift in the way you see yourself. And then, suddenly the alignment, the acceleration, the awareness that something holy has begun. Not because of anything you forced, but because of everything you endured. And now heaven is echoing what your heart hoped for. When you had no words left to pray. You're not entering into another cycle of almost. You're entering into the manifestation of already heard, already written, already spoken, already fulfilled. I have not brought you this far to tease your belief. I have brought you to the edge of fulfillment. And the next step is not a risk. It's a reward. Not because you got it all right, but because you trusted me through the part that felt all wrong. This is the shift your soul has been sensing. This is the moment when the weight lifts and the wind of my spirit begins to carry what your hands could never hold alone. This is the hour where you stop apologizing for the calling you carry and begin living in the clarity that it was always yours. And the good news, it doesn't depend on what's around you. It depends on what's already been placed within. You don't need to understand every detail. You just need to know it's already unfolding. And nothing can stop what I've started. You've been questioning the stillness, wondering why the answers seem to take so long, asking whether you've done something wrong, whether your faith was too fragile or your prayers too inconsistent. But what you didn't know is that I wasn't holding back to test you. I was holding space for the exact moment when your heart would be strong enough to receive what I've been shaping in the unseen. You weren't overlooked. You were protected. I covered you in the places where visibility would have compromised your growth. I turned away crowds, closed platforms, and removed certain voices. Not because I wanted to isolate you, but because I wanted to insulate the promise. I know how easily noise can distort clarity, how quickly pressure can deform identity, how subtly praise can plant performance. So I withdrew you from the spotlight, not to delay you, but to deepen you. Because what I'm about to release through you requires roots that cannot be shaken. Every time you thought the silence meant you were forgotten, I was actually speaking the loudest. You just didn't recognize the language yet. I speak in timelines, in transitions, in textures too delicate for the untrained spirit to interpret. But now that silence is being translated into movement, the atmosphere around you has already begun to respond. What once resisted your efforts is now yielding with ease. What felt like locked gates are now swinging wide, not because you forced them, but because I whispered the command. This is what it feels like when divine timing meets unwavering obedience. This is the moment when the Seeds buried in tears begin to press through the soil. You're not stepping into this because of your perfection. You're stepping in because of your persistence. You stayed when others gave. You kept showing up in faith even when doubt sat beside you. You continued to believe when it would have been easier to become numb. You whispered, "I trust you," even when your trust felt fragile, and I've counted every moment. I've marked every quiet act of faith with the seal of fulfillment. You didn't go unnoticed. You were being recorded in heaven's archives, not just as one who waited, but as one who worshiped through the waiting. And now the reward of that posture is rising. The good news isn't distant. It's not coming eventually. It's not a far-off hope waiting for more proof. It's here, and it's wearing your name. I've handcrafted it in the hidden places, shaped it in the stillness, wrapped it in wisdom, and prepared it for such a time as this. This is not recycled favor. This is not borrowed momentum. This is a tailor-made unveiling of what was always assigned to you. You feared you had fallen behind, but I was simply recalibrating the rhythm of your soul to match the pulse of heaven. You're not behind. You're aligned. You're not late. You're locked into my leading. Every delay was not theater. It was designed. I was allowing your disappointments to carve out space in your spirit for deeper understanding. I let the weight stretch you so that the weight of what's coming wouldn't collapse you. And now your capacity has expanded. Your discernment has sharpened. Your eyes have cleared. You no longer need constant reassurance. You now carry the kind of trust that can stand still and still know. That is the posture I bless. That is the ground where miracles take root. And make no mistake, what I'm releasing is not just a singular blessing. It is a chain reaction of alignment. It will touch everything. Your relationships, your voice, your environment, your sense of purpose. Things that once drained you will now fuel you. People who once questioned you will now seek your wisdom. Doors that once intimidated you will now feel familiar. You look around and realize this is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is orchestration from heaven itself. And it will be obvious not just to you but to those who've been watching from a distance. But this next season will not require an explanation. I won't ask you to justify the sudden favor. I won't ask you to apologize for the speed of the shift, because those who couldn't see your worth when you were hidden will now witness what happens when I reveal what I've reserved. You don't need to explain how you got here. Your endurance has already testified. Your story has already spoken, and I'm using every page, even the torn ones, the ones stained with tears, the ones you wished never happened. I'm redeeming every moment and reintroducing you not as the person who survived, but as the one I chose to rise. This rising will be quiet at first. It won't begin with applause. Will begin with peace, the kind that makes no sense but anchors every thought. It will begin with ease, the kind that doesn't feel forced because it was always meant to be. It will begin with confirmation, the kind that doesn't need a prophet to interpret because your own spirit will say yes. Yes, this is the moment. Yes, this is the turn. Yes, this is what the silence was preparing me for. And you'll know, not because it looks perfect, but because it feels like alignment. The old striving won't follow you here. The false urgency won't accompany you. You won't have to chase what now has divine permission to chase. You are walking into a season that won't require performing, only positioning. You don't need to prove yourself. You simply need to be present. Because this is not about promotion. It's about presence, mine and yours, merging in a way that reshapes the very air around you. You're not walking in as an imposter. You're walking in as the answer. I have placed in you what the room needs. I have filled you with what the world has been lacking. And that's why I took my time. That's why I made you wait. Because what's inside you now couldn't have been manufactured quickly. It had to be formed deeply. So don't question the process that shaped you. Don't resent the roads that led you here. Don't look back with regret. Look forward with clarity. What I'm unfolding is not just good news. It's the fulfillment of every whispered prayer, every silent hope, every desperate cry that you thought went unnoticed. I heard it all. I honored it all. And I'm responding not with mere comfort but with confirmation, not with vague promises but with visible proof. You will not have to strive for this season. It will unfold like breath, steady, strong and undeniable. And you will know I was always writing the ending. And it is better than you imagined. Know how long you've been waiting. You've walked through invisible seasons, carrying burdens that few could see and fewer could understand. You showed up. Anyway, you kept your heart soft when bitterness would have been easier. You whispered prayers when answers didn't come. You offered kindness when no one returned it, and still you remained. That faith, quiet, resilient, unseen, wasn't wasted. It was working not just on your behalf but within you. I was never waiting on the world to recognize. I was waiting for the weight of glory inside you to settle deep enough that when I lifted you, nothing would shake you. You felt the press of isolation, but what the enemy meant to break you became the very furnace that refined you. Every moment of silence deepened your roots. Every unanswered prayer redirected you toward the path I designed. Every rejection cleared the room for divine alignment. You see, what looked like a pause was actually a prophecy. The stillness wasn't punishment. It was positioning. I wasn't withholding the blessing. I was preparing the blessing to meet the version of you that could carry it. And now that version has arrived. This isn't just restoration. It's divine compensation, not only for what you lost but for what you carried faithfully when no one saw. For every yes you gave through tears. For every step forward when doubt clawed at your heels. For every time you chose to believe when evidence was nowhere to be found. I saw it all. I held it all. And I am now repaying it with acceleration that will silence every voice that questioned your path. This move is not cosmetic. It's not a temporary lift. It's a holy restructuring. I'm rebuilding things from the foundation up. Your confidence, your voice, your clarity, your purpose. What once felt fragmented is now becoming whole. What once felt forgotten is now being revealed. You thought you were running out of time, but time is now serving you. What felt like delay was divine alignment. What felt like loss was heavenly leverage. What felt like the end was actually the entrance. I am not just lifting you. I am launching you. And this launch will not be subtle. You won't have to beg for the doors to open. They will open on sight. You won't need to explain why you're here. My hand on your life will speak louder than words. You won't need to compete for space. I have already cleared the room. I am giving you not just access but authority. You are stepping into places where favor will go ahead of you and stay long after you leave. You will speak and it will carry weight. You will show up and atmospheres will shift. Not because of who you are alone, but because of who you've become through the fire. I've anointed your story, sealed your scars with oil. I've turned every past pain into prophetic preparation. You will look back and see how every thread was necessary. Every detour led to this intersection. Every closed door guarded what was sacred. Every delay protected what was delicate. And now what once seemed shattered will shine like stained glass. Proof that I can take what's broken and make it breathtaking. Don't doubt what you feel rising in your spirit. That stirring is real. That nudge is divine. That sense of something is shifting. You're not imagining it. Heaven has already declared the release. You are not waiting for the move. You are standing in the center of it. And from this place, everything changes. What once resisted will now release. What once confused will now clarify. What once drained will now overflow. This is what happens when divine timing meets unwavering faith. Your time is not coming. Your time is now. And as you receive these words, don't let them pass like just another moment. Let them mark you. Let them anchor you. Let them remind you you didn't endure all that for nothing. This is your confirmation. This is your proof. This is your moment of divine unveiling. I have gone before you. I have cleared the path. I have whispered your name into places your feet haven't yet touched. And when you arrive, they won't just see you. They'll recognize what rests on you. You won't need to fight for your place. I've already written your name in rooms designed for your voice. You won't need to explain how it happened. It will be evident that only I could have done this. And when the flood of fulfillment begins to pour, you'll understand why the waiting had to last that long, why the pressure had to stretch that far, why the silence had to go that deep. You will walk with grace, with confidence, and with peace that flows like a river from within. This is not just good news. This is God news, and it was written for you. And now as this word settles in your heart, I invite you to do something powerful. Comment amen below if this message was for you. Let your agreement be a seed, a declaration that you've heard heaven clearly and that your heart is aligned. Your amen is not just an echo. It's an announcement. It's a response to the very move of God already unfolding over your life. These messages have been speaking to you deeply. If you felt seen, stirred, or strengthened, know that this is only the beginning. There's more waiting for you. Make sure you stay connected to this channel. There are prophetic words, divine confirmations, and timely messages waiting to meet you right where you are. Subscribe for more powerful words like this, crafted with care, designed to meet your spirit in the exact moment you need them. You are not forgotten. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time for the miracle that was always yours. Now, breathe and let it begin.